I promise you, you are massively overthinking what's the optimal split, and it's stopping you from actually just going and training. There's an endless debate to what is the perfect split, but what if I told you it actually doesn't matter as much as you think it does? Because the real secret to gains lies behind the principles you use during your workouts, whether that's mechanical tension, volume, or frequency. I'll show you how to optimize these factors to build muscle so much faster, no matter the split. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If we've not met before, I'm Lockie, a final year sport and exercise science student at Oxford Brookes University. I've got over 3 years of resistance training experience, and I'm now a published sports science researcher in the world of fitness. Training splits are one of the most spoken about topics within fitness, but also one of the most distracting things for new lifters, because thinking about them often drives you away from what actually encourages progress. So in today's video, we're going to talk about why training splits themselves don't determine your gains, the principles that truly matter, like mechanical tension, progressive overload, and training frequency, and how to tailor these principles to your lifestyle and goals for long-term results. By the end, you'll have tools to build your ideal program, no matter how many days a week you train. Also, make sure to stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to do a short segment on the most important thing that you don't actually do in the gym. So let's start with why splits don't actually matter, because splits are really just a way to organise your workouts. And here's a few of the most common examples. So you've got the bro split, which is training one muscle group per day. This is generally adopted by more experienced lifters. So you'd do chest on one day, back on another day, and then biceps on another day. And then we have push-pull legs. This is one of the most common splits there is, and it's done by dividing workouts by movement patterns. So pushing, pulling, and legs. Then you have an upper-lower split, which is a more advanced split, which you use alternating between upper and lower body days. And then you have a full body split, which is hitting all major muscle groups in one session. So why don't these actually matter? And the main point is that muscles don't actually know the splits. Your muscles respond to stress and recovery, not the day of the week or the structure of your plan. What matters is total volume, intensity, and frequency, as said by Schoenfeld in 2016. And often an overemphasis on structure makes people waste time by debating the best split instead of actually optimizing their workload and recovery. And then inflexibility of splits means that splits can fall apart when lives get busy, and a rigid plan often leads to missed sessions, reducing your total weekly volume. So now we're going to speak about the principles that actually matter, and then later on in the video we'll speak about how to apply them, and then you can think about a split that works best for you while still applying these principles. So the number one driver for hypertrophy, no matter what happens, is mechanical tension. There's no debate about it. So mechanical tension is the force that your muscles experience during a contraction. And like I said, it is the main driver for hypertrophy. But how do you actually achieve mechanical tension? You do this by focusing on controlled reps, proper form, and lifting heavy enough to actually challenge your muscles. Because like I've said in previous videos, your muscles will not adapt and thus grow if they are not challenged. So in order to make them grow, you have to challenge them. So studies show that working within a 6 to 12 rep range with a weight that actually challenges your muscles optimizes mechanical tension. And the key thing to think about when trying to achieve mechanical tension is, are your last few reps slower than your first few reps? If the answer is no, there is absolutely no chance on God's green earth you are achieving mechanical tension. It's just not going to happen. But if you can say yes to that question, well done, you're achieving mechanical tension. So here are some practical tips for achieving mechanical tension. Use a full range of motion to ensure maximum muscle fiber recruitment, but also emphasizing a stretch. But then incorporate exercises that target muscles both at their stretched and shortened positions, like Romanian deadlifts for hamstrings. So the next principle that actually matters is total weekly volume. So total weekly volume is the number of sets and reps you perform each week for each muscle. Now, the minimum effective dose is seen to be around 9 to 12 reps. So that means to experience some sort of muscle gain, you have to do at least 9 to 12 sets per muscle group per week. But doing that amount won't necessarily maximize your gains, so going closer to 20 working sets per week per muscle group, you will see better gains. But if you just want to get by and experience some growth, go for around 10 sets per muscle group per week. So the third training principle that's more important than a split is progressive overload. This is the one we all know and love because it helps you to actively challenge your muscles without getting too worked up about other training principles. So like I said before, your muscles need to be challenged to experience some growth, and this can be done by implementing progressive overload. But you might be sat there thinking, well, how do I actually implement progressive overload? So let me tell you, you can achieve progressive overload or implement it within your sessions by increasing the volume, which would be your sets and reps, increasing the intensity, which would be the weight you're using during your sets. You can reduce your rest periods, although that's not one I'd necessarily recommend. And you can also do this by slowing down your reps, particularly during the eccentric or the lowering phase or the stretching phase of your reps. Use any of them 4 methods and you will implement progressive overload whether you like it or not. And then the final one, which I think is one of the most important, but all of these are very important anyway, is training frequency. This is one I bang on about a lot. The training frequency is obviously how many times you train a specific muscle within a week. So that doesn't mean if you train arms twice a week, but you only actually do biceps for both sessions and do triceps for one session, you've only really trained triceps once. So just bear that in mind when trying to work out your training frequency. So obviously the minimum effective dose for training frequency is once a week, but I would recommend trying to train each muscle at least twice a week, and if you can, 3 times a week. But the thing to bear in mind is that anything more than 2 times per week, you won't necessarily see more gains, at least not significant amounts. But the difference between 1 time a week and 2 times a week is absolutely astronomical. So if you can train a muscle twice a week, definitely do it. So if you're ever stuck with training frequency, think that if you do 20 sets for chest in one session, which would be absolutely ridiculous, instead you would be better off splitting that across 2 sessions. So maybe do 10 sets for your test on Tuesday and then 10 sets for your chest on Friday. You're better off doing it that way, because so many studies show increasing your training frequency without increasing workload improves hypertrophy dramatically. So let's just remind you what 4 principles are the most important regardless of split. So you've got progressive overload, which is actively and consistently challenging your muscles. You've got a training frequency of optimally 2 times per week. You have at least 10 sets per muscle group per week, which is your optimal training frequency, and mechanical tension. So now that you understand what actually drives progress, here's how you can put it all together. Match the frequency to your schedule, because if you can train 3 times a week, use a full body split to maximize frequency and volume. But if you train 4 to 5 days a week, an upper lower or push pull legs might be best for you. And then training 6 days a week, a push pull leg split or a specialized split allows for higher volume. So the important thing when suggesting splits is taking note of how many times you're actually going to be training, not necessarily the split itself. So if you want to be training 6 times a week, but you can't, but you want to be training each muscle 3 times a week, do a full body split. So you can train your full body 3 times a week. That way every muscle is getting trained 3 times per week, which is, like what we said, is optimal. So for planning your volume, you should be aiming to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week, spreading your sets out evenly. So here's an example for chest. So for day 1, you do 3 sets of bench press and 3 sets of incline dumbbell press. And then for day 3, you do 3 sets of dips and 3 sets of cable flies. We hit the minimum effective dose of volume because we did 12 working sets, but then we also did the minimum effective dose, or even the optimal effective strategy for training frequency, which was twice per week. And then implementing mechanical tension and progressive overload within them sets, you've hit all 4 principles right on the head. And I'm focusing more on mechanical tension by slowing down the eccentric or the lowering phase of your lifts, increase tension. So for an example, on squats, take 3 seconds to distend before exploding back up. Or for a seated incline curl, take 3 seconds on the lowering phase, allow the stretch to happen in your bicep, and then come back up. And then for tracking and adjusting, because obviously you're not just going to stay at the same weight or the same form or the same exercises. So how can you actually track and monitor your sessions? If you monitor your performance weekly, you can see when your lifts stall. So if your lifts do stall, consider increasing calories for recovery, adding an extra set for lagging muscle groups, and scaling back if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. Right, so remember what I said at the start of the video? We're going to cover something important that I haven't covered in the main portion of the video, and that is why recovery is your secret weapon. Because obviously your muscles don't grow in the gym, they get broken down in the gym. They grow outside whilst you're recovering. So here's why it actually matters. So for sleep, research suggests that 7 to 9 hours of sleep is optimal and boosts muscle repair and performance. And for nutrition, you need to ensure you're eating enough protein of at least 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight and carbs to fuel glycogen stores. And for deloads, you should plan lighter training weeks every 4 to 6 weeks to allow full recovery. So here's the bottom line. Training splits don't matter nearly as much as the principles behind it and as the principles you're implementing within your sessions and outside of your sessions like recovery. So whether you're a fan of push-pull legs, upper lower splits or full body splits, you need to focus on the essentials like mechanical tension, sufficient weekly volume, training each muscle 2 to 3 times per week, progressive overload and proper recovery. And if you master these, you'll make gains no matter the split, and you'll find that you actually make gains because you're spending more time in the gym actually training hard than sat at home trying to figure out what the best split is and not actually training. So to summarize, splits are just a way for you to organize your workouts. What actually drives improvements and growth is how you apply the scientific principles of hypertrophy within your sessions. Find a plan that works with your lifestyle. Try and optimize your weekly volume and recovery and stay consistent. So let me know what your current training split is and if you've actually been trying to apply these principles. And if you haven't, give them a try and let me know what gains you've experienced in the comments. But if you're a busy student like I am and you're struggling to fit in effective, optimal workouts around your studies, check out one of my most recent videos that explains how you should be training as a busy student, because I've been there. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video and hit the bell icon if you want to get notified for more science-backed fitness content. As always, thank you guys for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.